Come on. Awesome.
See a stream there in a second.
Can I get rid of this?
No, you need that thing up. That's what you're going to use to get your chat and everything.
Ah, okay. Are we on?
It says you're live.
We are live. We are still learning how to do this. Hopefully.
Over here,
Okay. We're still learning and it is not pretty, at least not on my end. I need to get my... Hi, and welcome to Real Talk with Angry Soccer Mom. I am going to get us straightened out, and we have a lot to talk about tonight. A lot of very serious issues. And let me just get my the chat on. I don't have the chat on.
Give me a second.
And we will get started. So bear with us.
It's not even broadcasting yet, right? It's not showing up?
No, not yet. It's not showing up yet, so. It says live stream, but it doesn't show where I can pick up people saying stuff. So we'll have to bear with us, please, if you are there. Ah, live stream checklist tab. Oh, there we go.
Oh, you have a picture?
No, I have something. Oh, we've been on 1 minute and I've said nothing. That's not good.
It says you're live.
Okay.
And I have your screen. You're on.
Okay, can you help me get my, Hello, we're gonna start up. I'm just trying to get things organized. This is the second time we've had 2 screens on YouTube and we're still learning. I'm not worthy. Hopefully we'll figure this out in a minute. Okay. We have a ton of stuff to talk about tonight, and also anything anyone watching has to talk about too, which is going to be a lot. Right down there. Down, right there. Okay. Let me see. Oh, Pat, hello. Glad you're here. Thank you so much. I'm going to just, sorry for the delay. We're just trying to get our act together here. Let me see. Sorry for the delay, and oh, wow. Give me 2 seconds, and we will start. Oh, goodness. Oh, there we go. I got it. I think I got it. Let me just... There we go. We'll catch on to this. Pat, I am fine, but I am technically incompetent. But kind of think everyone knew that. Stevie, hello. Let me know, Pat and Stevie, can you hear me okay? Just give like a yes if you can hear, because last time we had some trouble with hearing me, and I wanted to make sure everyone's good. Okay. Almost ready.
Yes.
Yeah, this. Oh, sweet. Okay, good. Good. And there we go. And I lost it. Don't leave yet. Okay. Finally, we can start. Thank you so much for being here. Hello. You're all set, right? Right, Don?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Welcome to Real Talk with Angry Soccer Mom. Not that angry tonight, but definitely disappointed. Not in you guys. In this nation, this week's discussion topics are anything you feel is newsworthy about bigotry, racism, inequality in America. And unfortunately, it's kind of everything. The show is meant to be an opportunity for viewers to watch me be silly. Now, for viewers to learn the truth about systemic racism in America. And today, it's also an opportunity to show white people the truth about systemic racism. And people to speak their mind and have your voice heard. Cool. So we will get started. Today I'm all over the place, as you can tell. Before we start, I wanted to introduce my co-host, Don Crumlin. He is here again today. Don is a great friend of mine and a professional health and wellness consultant, as well as a martial artist and a blogger. And he knows a lot of stuff in general. So I want to show him off a little bit. Don brings a wealth of information, knowledge, experience, as well as a unique perspective to understanding and educating people about systemic racism. And he lives it, and he definitely knows about it and writes about it really, really well. Don's a retired Air Force colonel and commander, so behave, everybody. He served as had to add that in, sorry. He served as a wellness consultant for the Department of Defense and a wellness coordinator for the Department of Health and Human Services in California. So he knows a lot. And I will put all of his information at the bottom. I will put it at the bottom of this this show at the end. And check out his stuff, because he knows it. He knows stuff. He knows stuff. What a great endorsement. Welcome. Did I miss anything, Don?
That was great. Thank you, Kim. Hi, everyone. Glad to be here.
Cool. Making this a little bit bigger. Oh, I promise at some point I will get this. Let me see. And doing that, I lost my... Oh, they're there. Back again. Okay. Well, welcome to everyone who's here. I wanted to introduce myself to anyone who's new and watching. I am Angry Soccer Mom. Really that angry. Well, it's internal. Let's just say it's all internal. I am angry. A lot of people think it's guilt, but nope, it's anger. I'm angry that we live in a nation that won't take responsibility for our real racial history and the truth. And it's enraging to me. So I am the host of this live show, and I run a number of online communities, including the Angry Soccer Mom YouTube channel. So if you haven't subscribed, I'd love to have new subscribers. Go ahead and subscribe if you don't mind. Ring the bell for notifications. And if you believe, like I do, that it is way past time for white America to start taking racial responsibility and supporting the dismantling of systemic racism in America, then please spread the word about my YouTube channel. For new people, the number one thing that white Americans can do to support the quest for equity, equality, civil and human rights is to educate ourselves. It sounds so simple. I'm going to blab for a little bit, and then Don is going to jump in and talk, and we'll read comments and questions, and we'll go from there. Your Journey. Hello. Lakeisha, hello. Thanks for being here. Welcome, Your Journey. I call you by your YouTube names. It's so cute. And remember, I don't know who's who. Not like on Facebook, so if you actually kind of know me, say who you are, and then I will know. Kitchen politics. Oh my gosh. Oh goodness, I'll get right to you in a second. Kitchen politics starts right out. That's why everyone loves you. Oh, hello. Sweet. Okay, now I know who you are. All right. Hello, Shalama. Thank you for being here. We're just getting started. Tonight, the topics that we've sort of prepped for, which there's at least a few of them, are to impeach or not to impeach. The Mueller report, seeing a less redacted version, please. And, oh, sweet. And Michigan, a city in Michigan moving to criminalize calling police on black folks for simply existing, which I was just thrilled to see. It's a city, but hey, it's a start. And the Supreme Court's supporting of Trump's census citizenship question. Florida brutality over some kids, 15-year-old children, basically. Are black people punished for being on Facebook? Some stuff like that. And then if we get to it, which I don't think we will, or maybe we'll do it next time, I don't know if you guys saw it, the Egyptian unveiled tomb that was bursting with color, and it was amazing. Hey, Jamie, thank you for being here. And Michael. Okay, so let me just take a couple of quick I saw some. Pat was just before I rant and rant. Pat, well, some people don't think that racism is a problem, but it is a problem in this country. Yeah, we have a lot of deniers. It runs very, very deep. And I know what I do when people say there's no racism. I just pull out Jane Elliott's saying, how would you like to be treated the way we treat black people in America today? And unless they're lying to your face or to themselves, there's really not a lot. What do you think, Don? I mean, it's called denial.
Well, we have a lot of systemic racism, and that is what's ingrained in the societal norms based on the system that is in place. And that's why people get different loan rates when they go to purchase a house or purchase a car or things that are big ticket items like that. You see it even when they do tests where they have the profiles that are pretty much identical, and the only difference is the ethnicity of the person. And then they come in, the eyewitness reporters come in and they interview the banks or whatever and ask them the questions. Well, why was it different from this one than that one? When we had already reviewed their profiles and they were basically identical, yet you gave them significantly different rates in order for them to either purchase a car, purchase a house, etc. So, and then you extend beyond that to what people's natural inclinations are, and they don't even realize it sometimes, but at other times they really do realize it and they know exactly what they're doing, and that's a problem.
Yeah, well, part of the issue is also a lot of times white folks, to be really honest, they're looking at racism as the old-fashioned version of people running around in hoods and swastikas burning, and they really don't understand microaggressions. They don't understand. White folks have kind of perfected this, into some sort of insane art, and it's not like it was in the olden days, necessarily overt, although it could be. So that's part of it.
Well, not necessarily, but sometimes if you know where to look, there are things like khaki pants and MAGA hats, and
right. But I know a lot of the beginners that I work with don't quite. They'll say, "Well, I don't what." I'm nice to everybody, and they don't realize it's a system. So but yeah, there's a ton of reasons why, but I don't know how you feel, Don, but I kind of think that nowadays, because we have the internet and we have the capability of really learning, that I'm hard pressed to believe that somebody truly believes in their heart. I don't know. That's just I don't believe them, but you do get that, and it's pretty painful. Michael, hello. Oh, okay. He's gonna behave, he says. Welcome to the show. I'm glad to have you here. And let me see, do you want to look over some of the stuff and we'll get started? Because we have quite the show tonight. Let me just scroll up. Jamie, you got nabbed by, let me see. Oh, you got blocked from Facebook. Okay, no worries. It has been, and that's one of our topics tonight, about people, non-white people getting just basically taken off of Facebook left and right. And I'll be talking about that because I have sampling of one where I rarely get kicked off, and you guys know what I do. So it's kind of weird. But let me see. Kitchen politics. Your thoughts on the California woman who called cops. I read your thing about that. I don't know if Don wants to jump in, but we might get to that later on. I'm reading Kitchen Politics. Makisha. Oh, hi, Professor Don. Can you explain how African nations give the diamonds, gold, stones, silver to white supremacists, and how they made millions off of black people? Are you in a position to Professor? Uh-oh.
Well, yes, I could explain that, but it would probably distract us from the rest of the agenda that we have this evening.
Right.
A great topic for us to take on an evening, because that would pretty much involve a significant chunk of time, because you would have to describe the civilizations, the way that the colonization process worked initially, how it was organized, and how people were marginalized with regard to both their work topics, their work tasks, the managerial structure that was set up in order to maintain the control that was obtained. And it kind of goes on and grows from there. And then there are the emotional connections that explain the people part interactions with all of that. And so we kind of take away from.
Okay, we can do that sometime though. I mean, but not
Yes,
maybe not tonight.
I think it's a great topic for another evening. I don't know if we could get into that.
Absolutely.
Would do justice to it tonight.
Yep, absolutely.
But
great question.
Topic, great question.
Well, the White Hoods are still there, Pat. Yeah, definitely. Okay, let us, you know what we're going to do? We are going to, Lakeisha, great question. Absolutely. I'm going to jump right into a little bit of impeachment background. I'm sure people watching absolutely know this. And if you don't, you will soon. And then I'm going to go into a rant, and then we're going to be open for people saying whatever they want. So I'm going to do a brief summary of where we are with the impeachment, the Mueller, or with no impeachment, and the Mueller report. Then I'll do a quick rant, and we will start talking to everybody. I think many people thought that the Mueller report would give us the answers that we have been seeking, and some people did. But according to Attorney General William Barr, the Mueller report found no evidence of collusion between Russia and the Trump campaign during the 2016 presidential election. He made that crystal clear. Barr also claimed that the report said there was insufficient evidence to indict President Trump on obstruction of justice. But here's the thing. Then we got to see at least a very redacted form. Here's the thing. The Mueller investigation report indicates that Trump directed aides to interfere in the Mueller inquiry. They just refused to follow his orders because they probably knew it was illegal. Although since then, Trump seems to have refuted this, saying nobody refuses his orders, which, dang, okay. If someone puts a gun to someone's head and they fire it and they miss, is that person still not a criminal? That's a great analogy, but anyway, according to Reuters, Mueller built an extensive case indicating the Republican president had committed obstruction of justice, but stopped short of concluding that he committed a crime. But he did not exonerate the president. And Mueller noted that the Congress had the power to address whether Trump violated the law. Barr put a big spin on it for the public. And I think that, just to clarify, we basically let a man who was chosen by the president, picked by him, to filter the results of a 2-year study investigation that was looking into the criminal activity of the president. So after the redacted report came out, it became crystal clear that what Barr presented was just a bunch of biased talking points, using words right from Trump's mouth. And in fact, I was kind of wondering if maybe Trump didn't write it, but then I realized he doesn't really write. And then I kind of realized he doesn't like to write things down, and maybe, I don't know, it sounded like his words. Barr has zero credibility in my mind, because after seeing this redacted, just even that, it's crystal clear that he's completely biased. Just to note, William Barr is essentially acting as Trump's personal attorney, and absolutely not in the best interest of the people. Additionally, I didn't realize this, and maybe some of my friends did, but I didn't realize this till after, but apparently Barr, this is his thing. This is what he does. After a little research, it wasn't tough, it was determined that Barr is like the go-to guy for this kind of thing. If you want to cover up, he has a strong history of covering up for presidents, with him being personally involved with covering up stuff for Reagan with the Iran-Contra, Bush, weapons of mass destruction, and I think even some more stuff. So I just wanted to outline precisely where we are with regards to impeachment or no impeachment. I'm going to present a number of sides, and at the end I'd like to hear exactly what you all think. And of course, Don will jump in. So while you listen to my rant, that actually wasn't the rant, if you can, that was kind of a rant. Please start telling what you think about all this. Basically, Trump seems like he's going to get away with all this. I don't mean to be the soothsayer of doom, but I don't know. So please write whatever you have, and we'll go back and talk about it. So here's my rant. The checks and balances in our government are being bypassed through loopholes and workarounds. And that's probably not a revelation to anybody. Trump is not working for the majority of Americans. And I mean, these are all kind of like understatements a little bit. He's working for the billionaires, and he's using his knowledge of just how racist white Americans are to get himself reelected. And I'm honestly questioning whether our Constitution was set up to protect us against this kind of person. People are seeing road signs that say if Trump is impeached, that the Democrats better have weapons ready. I mean, that's terrifying. So let's talk for just 1 second about these said checks and balances that are being destroyed. Well, and I'll go fast because it's supposed to be a rant, and I want to get us going here. So first of all, our legislative branch today is placing party so much before the sanctity of our representative democracy. I don't even know if they read what's given to them. If Trump doesn't, rather than just judge legislation based on its merits, Republicans are voting party lines with zero moral consideration, as far as I can tell, and possibly no consideration at all, unless Trump says he likes it. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell is blocking legislation left and right from even coming to a vote unless Trump approves it. And this essentially cedes legislative power to the executive branch, effectively canceling a major number of checks in the democratic process. I mean, Trump's made it obvious that he wants power. And I think our democracy is being destroyed, and we're following the path of the Roman Empire, and it's terrifying. Everybody in the Senate and the House took a vow to uphold the Constitution of the United States. So here is my rhetorical question. How ludicrous is it that we still have a sitting president in the White House as we speak who took an oath to uphold the Constitution of the United States, but instead has done everything in his power to thwart the spirit of the Constitution, consolidating power into the executive branch like there's no tomorrow? And there may not be at this point. Here's some more ways that he's trying to expand his presidential power by bypassing legislation, legislative approval process, by appointing acting secretaries rather than actually having them approved. The cabinet he's appointed or chosen to sabotage the mission of the agency they manage. It's unbelievable, like pretty much almost every one of them. According to Robert Reich, who I follow closely, and I'm sure a lot of other people do as well, Trump's cabinet now has an attorney general, and this is kind of the way he put it in a nutshell, and I think you all probably know this. It puts the president above, the attorney general who puts the president above the law, the secretary of treasury who puts Wall Street above Main Street, an environmental protection agency who puts big oil above clean air, and a secretary of health who puts pharma above patients, and a secretary of labor who puts profits above workers. Then there's DeVos. And don't even get me started on DeVos. Secretary of Education. She knows nothing about education. That's my take. She wants money to be taken from public schools to fund wealthy white Christian magnet schools that have a tuition expense and that don't have to follow the admittance policies of public schools. And this is just naming a few things. Her education policies are intentionally causing greater and greater marginalization. It's absolutely on purpose, and absolutely on purpose. And it includes harming the poorest Americans who already get the worst education because of the way our school tax system is set up with the state, using basically like the housing and the businesses. Our government's policies with regards to redlining have set this up for just going in for the kill, is basically what she's done. DeVos's plan all but destroys the chance for all children to have access to equal education by discriminating against black students and perpetuating and exacerbating the cycle of poverty and other students of color and also impoverished white people too. I mean, she's going for it. Some more ways that he's destroying us, and my rant is almost over. I didn't realize how long this would be, sorry. I will hurry. Trump circumvented the spirit of the laws, and basically his goal's been to harm pretty much every historically marginalized group in America. And he scapegoated Muslims, Mexicans, asylum seekers, people he thinks are Mexican and they're not, people who he thinks are Muslim and they're not. I mean, it's the community. He has harmed the black community beyond human understanding. It's awful. He's trying to expand his power and discredit the media, making them the enemy of the state, so that basically there's one source, him. This is right out of Dictator 101. He's used inflammatory speech and tweets and just his, when he tries to go off and get himself reelected, to embolden his base and incite threats, what he's done to Representative Omar. And according to the Mueller report, Trump knowingly directed his staff to do illegal things. And if any other person had done this, they'd be ousted in 5 seconds. I mean, Clinton, didn't he have impeachment proceedings against him for some sexual act he did with a consenting adult? Under oath, 30 times, I do not recall. And this is just the redacted version of the Mueller report. It's widely speculated that the reason Trump's attorneys didn't want him to sit down with Mueller was because he would perjure himself in 5 seconds flat. He can't finish a sentence without lying. So this whole I don't remember thing, it's a cover-up. Then there's the small detail of his top aides going to prison and doing illegal things. And so it would seem that impeachment was a no-brainer based on the overwhelming evidence of all this stuff. I mean, but now Trump's ignoring subpoenas. He's making it so the House Oversight Committees can't get their information to investigate. He's attempted to tie every single issue up in court litigation so that it buys him time to do his evil, cruel agenda. So I want the Mueller report with minimum redactions, and I know it probably won't make a difference, but transparency is huge. So this whole thing's ridiculous. I think he's getting away with it because he's a con man, wants to be king, and I am seriously, I don't know how, I can't imagine how people of color feel, and black people, and I can't imagine, because I know how I feel, and it's like really, really not good. So the way I look at it is, I don't care if something's illegal or legal. Slavery was legal, okay? And if Trump isn't a candidate for impeachment, then who the hell is? So besides the fact that the Senate Republicans will never allow impeachment, I want to know, why isn't he being impeached? And here's part of the problem. And we can start jumping in because this is just going on and on. But according to a lot of politicians, focusing on impeachment for Trump and his crimes against humanity will serve to inflame his base and will become some sort of rallying cry for conservatives. The fear is that this will win him the 2020 election. We have alternately, some Democrats like Bernie are saying, oh, we have to wait, we have to not impeach, and we have to go with advocate for the focus on the free things and like things that people need and want to bring everyone together, like free college, universal health care, climate change. So many Democrats are advising their constituents to, get them at the ballot box, But the bottom line, because the bottom line is if the Senate doesn't pass a, impeaching anyway. But here's another angle. And I am almost done, I promise. Okay, I lied. Sorry. I'll time my rants next time. Oh my God, I did not realize how long this darn thing was. But then I'll stuff a sock in it. I promise. I'm still learning. Dr. Martin Luther King, he says white moderates who are devoted to order more than justice, who paternalistically believe that they can set the timetable for another man's freedom. I read an article by Michael Harriot, who writes for The Root. He is my all-time favorite writer on the planet. I don't know if you know who he is, but he's amazing. He says, it doesn't hurt white people to delay or deny justice while Trump dismantles affirmative action, reverses rules on discrimination, destroys health care, promotes gentrification, champions police brutality, downplays the rise of white supremacists, hate groups, and all that. And it's easy for the white folks to say, let's just hold out and wait. It's not like white folks are being killed in such huge numbers, percentage-wise, as black people are, and harmed with all these things. And he says, you gotta be kidding me. That is one of the whitest things I've ever heard, basically. Like, let's all wait. And that's historical. It's just not the right time. Very historical. So guess what? It's time to talk about, what do you guys think? Impeachment? No impeachment? How do you feel? I told you I'd be quiet.
Tim?
Done. Let's jump in here and...
Is it time for me to say something
Okay,
now?
wake up over there. I know. I hope I didn't bore you too much. But yeah. Let me see.
Let me help address some comments to the group.
Sounds great. Thanks.
Great rant. You covered an awful lot of ground and a significant number of topics. So let me try and break down a couple of things so that everyone can kind of catch up, because you went into a lot of different areas. And
I wanted to make it general so that people who didn't know about it could.
Right. And that's what, like I said, you did a great job. Here's if I could kind of take little bites and components, things that you talked about with regard to the Mueller report. Okay, even MSNBC and even some of the analysts on Of All Things, who would believe it, Fox, have broken down that Barr has out and out lied. He clearly is a psychopath and is immersed in the Trump administration, which is not his job. He's supposed to be an independent entity, the top law enforcement officer in the nation as the Attorney General.
He is private attorney.
He is not executing his duties in that manner in any way, shape, or form. He is clearly so partisan. It's a neon sign. That much is he's out and out lied. He hasn't just spun things. He's out and out lied about everything. And that was one of the reasons why in the initial 2 days after the release of the Mueller report, Trump's numbers went down 7 full points, and they have kind of steadied off at a 37% line. They were up to 44 at one point in time, but they're probably not going to go much below, and they certainly won't go any higher than that. He's had no peaks whatsoever with regard to his approval and disapproval ratings as things have gone on. As this unfolds, and as he has tried to continue to put his spin on it, once again, as you excellently outlined, the people of color and marginalized groups in this country are suffering the worst brunt with regard to the things that have been brought to light or tried to be brought to light. And as you also pointed out, there is a tremendous amount of material that's still been redacted, blacked out, so that we can't see it. Now, the legitimate stuff are things that are investigations that are ongoing and continue to be pursued with regard to things that have been disclosed and things that have not been disclosed yet in any way, shape, or form. They're still chasing down the remnants of connecting the dots of the Russian interference. And by the way, even though Barr came out and said flagrant lies with regard to both the collusion, which is not a legitimate legal term, right. It's actually conspiracy. There are many acts that suggest significant conspiracy occurred, as well as the fact that there are a plethora of incidents where clearly obstruction has occurred.
Absolutely.
We
Yeah.
have seen that in plain sight. So there's very little with regard to any wiggle room regarding interpreting exactly what's going on with that. In one of today's interviews, he talked about why are they trying to go after my financial records, and that Mueller probably already did that. Well, that is not correct. He has done everything he can to block all of that. He's
From the
still
beginning, too.
Total black rule of law says that he can delay, but it's inevitable what will happen with this process. The Democratic Congress is walking the progression. Interestingly, they are conservatively walking the progression with regard to the inquiries and everything being done above board in order to not be accused of partisanship, even though he goes there and accuses them of partisanship every chance he gets. He still is saying things in the manner of witch hunt, etc., when clearly the absolute empirical evidence that has been presented shows that it is not a witch hunt. There are significant details that have been brought out to a very significant degree with regard to itemizing and detailing exactly what he has done that is both collaborative.
Can I jump in and make a quick?
As well as illegal interference with regard to the democratic process, shirking his duties, ignoring and stepping all over the Constitution with regard to his fiduciary responsibility and his obligation to put the needs of the country ahead of his own personal gains and needs. He has not commented about the disasters that have gone on in the world because he is so enamored with being focused on protecting himself and identifying that he complained that President Obama has more Twitter followers than him. Imagine any other president being so focused on that instead of the key issues that are facing our nation.
Yeah.
It doesn't add up at all.
Well, definitely, for sure, the whole witch hunt thing is kind of ludicrous because his senior staff's been, indicted, and they're going to, a lot of them are going to jail, prison, so it's not a witch. I mean,
37 indictments, 5 prison sentences.
So
yes.
It's kind of hard pressed for anyone to actually take that seriously.
37 instances of him saying he doesn't remember or can't recall, despite him bragging about having such a wonderful memory.
Exactly. And one of the things I thought of, Don, and this is going to sound really rotten, but I think we should all be very, very concerned about his inability to remember things. If he had 37, I mean, this is just 2 years. Maybe that might be grounds for something, because if he can't remember, I'm joking, but I mean, the crimes, the things that he's done, he can't remember. I mean, we all know that's just a bunch of BS, so I just can't believe he's getting away with all this. It's extremely upsetting. Do you want to take some questions or comments? Because it looks like we got a lot.
Well, I wanted to follow up on a few other things that you brought up as well. So that everybody can kind of follow along with where you're going, because you touched on some excellent stuff all over the place.
Thank you.
With regard to the people on Facebook being punished, we also talked about the radicalization of the police forces across the nation and the negative impact that is happening, in that for people of privilege, it's protect and serve. For people that are not of privilege, it's comply or die. And this is a very significant divide, obviously, and it's an extreme that is becoming more separated in terms of the gap between the treatment of both entities. We see more and more instances of people ranting. You mentioned the Michigan law that's coming up with regard to people being punished for providing false police reports against people of color.
get into that
that
in a little bit.
doing,
Or,
yes, that are just doing their normal thing
yeah.
versus.
Did you want to talk about any of the stuff that about the stuff that I kind of went over as a review before we get into that, or?
Sure. Which thing would you like me to talk?
I'm just curious if you want to, if anyone's questions or comments are about that as well.
Well, one comment that I saw had to do with what would happen in the event of what would the military do if they had to choose between following the Constitution or following the orders of the Commander-in-Chief. And military commanders implicitly have shown that they are totally willing to, just as some of his key staff has, ignore some of his orders when they have been deemed to be illegal and unlawful.
They've even said so on, I've seen.
They said so in the Mueller report. He has denied that. When a microphone is put in front of his face, he said that nobody disobeys his orders. That is patently not true. We see that, I believe I read there were at least 5, and I think it might be as high as 7 different state National Guards that are not going to comply with his transgender expulsion.
Of transgender people. Yeah. They just aren't going to do it.
Yes, transgender people. Yes, most of the National Guard units are saying they will not do that. So that's an example of them not following what is deemed to be an illegal order, according to even this Supreme Court.
Yep. So that's, I know that made me really happy to hear that. I think this is a time in our history. I mean, I don't want to state the obvious that people need to step up to the plate. I keep reminding people, legal doesn't mean right. And we all know that all too well. It's very scary. Are there any other, let's just look over, because the whole thing, anyone who's commenting on anything about impeaching.
Oh, you mentioned,
while
you, if I could, I remembered part of what you said earlier. I wanted to comment on that with regard to impeachment. There are several different things to take into consideration with regard to proceeding with impeachment. If Congress is to absolutely, and I understand the two different sides of that discussion. One side is that if we rush to impeachment, we know that the Senate won't convict on impeachment. And so it will be considered to be an exercise that will gear up their base and make them stronger and more willing to come out and vote in the actual election. And that could be a boost for him and thus negate the actual objective of the impeachment process itself. So that's the big fear. So the Democrats are really caught between a rock and a hard place in that they know that if they go forward and do the impeachment process, and yes, it successfully comes out of the House, but it goes to the Senate and McConnell, et cetera, and his cronies basically squash it and put it down and it goes nowhere, then they then have an argument to say that they tried to impeach this wonderful president and they failed, and that gives them a launching pad and a springboard to go into the elections. Whereas if they go on a slow roll and they slowly divulge all of the different illegal actions and skullduggery and the different terrible acts that have been committed by this administration.
Yeah, crimes against humanity in my...
Crimes against humanity, yes.
I mean, absolutely.
And we start to, because most of the general public certainly does not have the time or the energy or the effort to read through the 400 pages, but they get an illustration from seeing the public hearings in Congress where they interview Mueller, they interview all of the other key people in both the investigative and the administrative side of things, and they slowly start to peel back the layers and undo the different components of the onion so that you get down to the core and you see the actual things that are really going on here, and everybody gets to be on the same level with regard to an understanding of how extensive and pervasive this negative administration has been.
Yeah, they're really destroying us.
Then we reach a critical mass, and there's a certain momentum going forward where you see more and more people that have a consciousness and the intellectual acumen to understand what's going on are disgusted and leaving the Republican Party as it exists now, because they realize that it is basically been corrupted and turned into something that they don't consider to be the true
Well,
meaning
it's the party of
originally
white supremacy is basically what it is. Yeah.
Yes, and so what's happening is, as we break these barriers down, as we unpeel the onion and get to the different layers of truth, more people will begin to understand, instead of following blindly based on their emotion and their allegiance to that party, which has been corrupted by Trump, that they will come in line to have some type of a clearer understanding of exactly what's going on and be able to make an informed decision going forward there. And that's the goal of the Pelosi-driven side of the discussion, which is to take a measured approach and to dissect things. The other argument that's in favor of impeachment says that, well, in order to really put energy and teeth into the investigative component of this, you have to declare that you are, in fact, going through the impeachment process. And that gives much more weight and strength to like the subpoenas that are going currently
Impeachment's not easy.
Not just ignored, but aggressively denied by this administration. Which, if you think of it, if you were to flip the coin, imagine how that would go over if there was a Democratic president that was running an administration like this current mob boss and denying inquiries and subpoenas from a Republican Congress.
He's backing us all up into litigation, and yeah. I want to interrupt in a second when you're done, because I have something to add to that.
Go ahead and add on.
I saw something from Lindsey Graham about, I'm going to say it was way back when, I'm guessing Clinton's time, and I'm not really sure, but oh my goodness. It was like classic. He said, impeaching a president does not have to be about a criminal act. It can be about a simple immoral act. And he argued it perfectly. I'm going to just bring it on and go, seriously, a hypocrite says what? And I'm ashamed of these people who are standing up for, because I'm not a Democrat, I'm not a Republican. I'm ashamed of them for what they're doing. They've taken the Democratic Republican, and I think I'm not an attorney, but it seems like we're in deep shit. We're in danger. And they've taken the foundation of our nation, government, and just chucked it to the side. And
you're absolutely right. They've stepped
we're
over
doomed.
the Constitution. They have obliterated the rule of law, and what they are doing is patently and essentially performing in a dictatorship and following the authoritarian model of the world leaders that he admires the most, the Kim Jong
openly admires.
Yes, the Putins, Netanyahu has been in the middle of this stuff. Everybody that has a dictatorial, authoritarian leadership style is someone that he admires and he emulates, and he envies them. He steps all over the rule of law in order to accomplish his goals. Yeah. And there are people that totally ignore the rest of the information that comes in and follow blindly in an allegiance with him because of their emotional connection to what they perceive him to be, because they cannot see past the forest to the trees to mask him and see what a total con and ridiculous pathological liar.
Don, he really is a professional con man. I mean, it is what he does. And if you go back to looking way before he was ever going to be anything in our government, it's his MO. It's what he does. And I'm not really holding my breath here for white folks to catch on. If they haven't caught on by now, they don't want to catch on. That's just my personal. They simply don't want to. And you know how I always fall back on, I truly believe this nation, the people who vote for him and want him and support him for one reason and one reason only. And it's like Occam's razor law. It's because he's racist as hell And that is who they were looking for, and that is what matters to them, and nothing else matters.
That's a huge part. And if I could address,
my take.
Michael seems to be
Yeah, could you please? Michael's
on asking a question with regard to how can he physically be removed from power. He is doing everything he can to eliminate any obstruction from him serving multiple terms, regardless of what the voting process says, whatever the democratic process says. He is what they call in the military saber rattling with both his intentions in Iran, as well as with Venezuela, as well as with Mexico. Here's the strategy behind that, as well as the problem that he faces. The strategy is that a president cannot be removed, replaced, or impeached while the country is at war. Here's his problem with regard to that. Only Congress can declare war. We now have a Democratic Congress,
right.
Democratic-controlled Congress. So that piece is the only buffer that's keeping him from implementing his diabolical hidden agenda, which is to stay in the office as long as possible. What comes down to a push comes to shove when all of the things, if he were to actually get impeached, if he were to actually lose the next election, would he abdicate power? I agree with the fear of a lot of people have expressed that he probably would not step aside and not step down. At that point in time, the actual U.S. Marshals, the federal authorities that are in charge of implementing the rule of law with regard to what is directed by the Congress, and especially if in the next election we get a majority of Democrats so that we control both the House and the Senate.
Oh, God.
Then he absolutely positively would have no control, even if he steals the election in some fashion, because they've done everything they can. There have been at least 5 blocks to the legislative initiative that has been presented in order to thwart any interference by foreign entities in our election process. Why in the world would anybody, no matter what your political
Exactly. I know what you're going to say.
Want to have that? Yeah. That makes no sense whatsoever.
They've gone mad, Don.
It truly shows that they are complicit and totally in bed with him and whatever skullduggery and illegal stuff is going on behind the scenes. You saw that Mitch McConnell is now under investigation for accepting huge sums of money from Russian oligarchs. And I suspect that most of the Republicans that have been totally complicit in protecting this particular administration have some type of ties that are going along.
They're protecting themselves. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Right. The Russian spy that was in Leavenworth, and now she's made a plea agreement. She's going to be sentenced sometime in the next few weeks. They were funneling and laundering money through the NRA. She had close ties with the NRA with regard to that. She is in a heck of a pickle because she's going to be imprisoned in this country. She wants to escape and repatriate back to Russia, but they want to deny her because she represents a electronic and paper and physical trail connecting the dots back to them for what they and this administration have continuously denied, which any Russian meddling. So I suspect that whenever she gets out of prison, she will disappear and no one will ever find.
Disappear in that, like, or.
Yes, disappear and that
That's what we do here. Yeah.
No one will be able to find where remains are.
Hate to say it, but it's probably true. Yeah, no, this is gone. Saying that it's gone too far is kind of the understatement of the century. I gotta say quick hi to Les. If you're still there, hello, welcome. I didn't get to say welcome to people, and I did. Oh, Anastasia, I didn't get to say hello. There are a lot of questions. I know I'm missing Anton. Hello, thank you so much for being here. Missing a ton of questions. I'm going to just run through them really fast and see if there's any that we want to talk about.
Neil has expressed some concern about Russia and China, and yes, they are watching very carefully and observing the weaknesses that are occurring. China is now in the lead with regard to solar exploration and technology, whereas Trump is trying to focus us and force us down a path into the dark ages to try
to coal and back to
utilize coal, which is absolutely ridiculous. Germany has totally eradicated all of their connection to utilizing coal in any way, shape, or form as a source of energy, which is the correct way to go.
Didn't they just close 5 plants?
Other countries, yes, they have declassified all of their coal plants. They have shut them all down in favor of renewable energy sources, which is the direction that the previous administration had us headed in with regard to fast light rail, renewable sources of energy, everything having to do with both solar and wind technology. Trump is playing both sides of the fence in that one of his postulates against wind technology is because it is causing a problem for one of his golf courses that is over in Scotland. So it's weird the way that he integrates
his own interests.
His own personal interests, where they conflagrate with what is in the best interest of the country. His own personal interest always seems to win out,
and it always seems to come up somewhere.
And what he tries to push forward. Yes.
Yeah, it's almost unbelievable, but I believe it.
Unfortunately, it's the reality that we live in.
Yeah. I wanted to just take a couple of, just read the comments. I don't think they needed a response. I'm not sure. But for Anastasia, honestly, Black people need to stop being scared and meek, because if we think a Black Holocaust is not on the horizon, we're not paying attention. And I've heard that from a number of people. Pat says, the Constitution was never designed to protect Blacks. Absolutely. It's only designed for white supremacist racist folks. And to know did you know that every part of the Constitution had in it that Black people were yes, of course, absolutely. Les, Kim, what's going on? Is a big smokescreen? The bottom line is that his followers want one thing: white America back. If 45 compromises, then Jim Crow laws will be enacted, and will never ever. He'll never stop there. No, Les, absolutely. This is terrifying, and to me, and I'm white. I don't know if you want to speak to any of these, or I can just read them. So I want people to have their voice. Lakeisha, America has never been a European country. It's a melanated country of God's chosen people, and that's, white folks. I can't speak for all white folks, nor would I ever want to, but we live, in a fantasy world. And the saddest thing to me, well, that's not true. Okay, I can't lie. Not the saddest thing. It's one of the saddest things. To me, Don, is that systemic racism and racism is not in the best interest of the white masses. And they don't know it. It's not. It's like voting against yourself, and you don't even know it. So
that is absolutely right.
It's not in their best interest. Even if they wanted to be racist, they should say, well, kind of going against myself here, making the rich richer and open. I mean, it's ridiculous. I could go on and on, but yeah, it's pathetic on top of pathetic. People don't want to think. Let me see, kitchen politics. I'll just read what kitchen politics is saying. The only serious candidates are Warren Sanders and Joe Biden. When he enters, I think he did. Everyone else should be considered for the VP running mate, not to be taken seriously. Okay. And kitchen politics, I do not recall. Yeah, more than 37 times, right? Is that right?
Correct.
No, I don't think she's being, I cannot speak for her, but I do not think she's being sarcastic. I think she's talking about, kitchen politics is asking whether, was it, who said that? Let me see. let me see. I can't remember who said that.
She asked if Bernie was nominated,
Definitely answer to it.
would you support him as a candidate? So here are my comments with regard to that. There's no such thing as a perfect candidate. I realize that the Bernie people are very passionate. McConnell has said that he will be the Grim Reaper with regard to any progressive ideas. So that pretty much lays the groundwork for where he's coming from. Bernie has some nice ideas. I don't personally think he's the one, but I think he needs to be included in the discussion because he has a lot of really good progressive ideas. And I think that in the end, he certainly means well. His heart is in the right place. And a lot of his ideas are really good.
And he started it too. A lot of it.
I look at him like that. I don't consider him to necessarily be the one, but certainly I think that everybody needs to understand there's no such thing as a perfect candidate, and we need to support whoever comes out of the process with regard to the blue.
The Democratic ticket doesn't matter anyone but Trump. That's my,
Yes.
We have to support the Democrat because
I think it's very disappointing that there's a very significant percentage of the Bernie people that said if Bernie doesn't get it, then they're voting for Trump, which makes no sense whatsoever.
Well, it's just ludicrous. That kills me. That's just unbelievable. It's like if Bernie doesn't get it, then we'll vote for a person who's destroying our country piece by piece systematically.
Well, here's the thing. Bernie will support whoever the nominee is.
Absolutely.
Because time when he went as an independent, he's going as a Democrat this time.
Yes.
So whoever wins the nomination, Bernie will support. So hopefully he will minimize the damage of those people that are so upset and so passionate with regard to his agenda that they will essentially
That's a good point, Don. I definitely
be in support of whoever comes out of the blue process.
Good point. Because people need to learn from our past experience. We have, I think, and I don't know, I'm just guessing, but I don't think we have too many more pivotal moments that will be opportunities for us to get our country in the right direction again before Trump decides that, he has to declare, shut the borders and basically continue his, I truly believe with all my heart, he wants to be a dictator and he will do whatever it takes to do so. Now, I know that sounds outlandish, but not really.
He is basically, in effect, performing in that manner at this step already.
I think so, Don. I mean,
absolutely.
From the very beginning, I'm not a great historian, but my parents did teach me about
his criticism of Sessions as an attorney general. Sessions was unfortunately being very successful in implementing his agenda of removing about 50 years worth of civil rights progress.
And so many fronts.
All of his cabinet appointments are in place, and Steve Bannon just recently came out and admitted this.
I saw that.
Interesting that Trump is attacking Steve Bannon as well. But Bannon said that the entire administrative agenda is to disrupt and dismantle exactly the departments and the cabinets that these people have all been appointed to be in charge of.
Well, it's so obvious too, right?
Yes, their mandate from Trump is to disrupt, dismantle, and effectively make ineffective all of those areas that they were trying to, that those departments were designed to actually service.
Well, it's so obvious because of the people he picked. It's like I keep saying, it's like opposite day.
Yes,
pick people
everybody he picks is the opposite of what the department is designed to do. That's correct.
It's terrible. I wanted to go into Lakeisha, 45 is an evil man with money that is dirty. Yeah, absolutely. Michael, there's no countervailing force to Trump. When the courts fall, the only power remaining will be the military. I'm curious. Oh, you already covered that, right, Don? About Michael's question about the military?
Yes.
Anesthesia. Michael, as a former soldier, we don't pledge to protect the president. It's the Constitution. Conversely, we do not have to follow orders.
That is correct.
Yes, and that's what you had just said. And God for that. Yeah. Michael,
And it
he knows
is
that.
actually a soldier's duty to not perform an illegal order.
Absolutely. And that's why, and I know that the ICE people and the Border Patrol, they're not really military per se, paramilitary, I won't even call them even. But why they have followed suit in doing the cruel things that they have chosen to do blows me away. I can't believe it. I mean, it's like, I think, sorry, my opinion, they should be held liable. You do not follow inhumane orders. You're a human first and foremost. That's just so I'm disgusted with those guys. But Anton, the Nazi state of America. Go.
The analogy that has been made is that the Hitler's generals that claimed during the Nuremberg trials that they were just following orders, that didn't go very well in that scenario. And it will not go over well.
No.
This empire eventually falls us also.
I can only hope. It's as if we do not learn from history. Maybe we just don't know our history. I don't get it. I know white folks certainly do not know their racial history, and that's not an insult. That's just a fact. We're not taught it in schools. It's whitewashed. It's kept away. It's absolutely purposeful because the truth speaks for itself. Denial is a big moneymaker for the wealthiest people in America. Yeah, Anton was saying the Nazi state of America, Americlan, governments hold people of this country out. Oh, absolutely, and it's terrible. Do you see any other?
Michael, I respectfully disagree. I do not think that we are
Could you read what you're? Yeah.
Situation where Trump cannot be removed. I believe he can be removed.
Is that further down, or is that from above?
I'm not sure. It's
okay,
right.
You don't know where I'm at, of course.
Right below kitchen politics, agreeing with some other things that we just covered.
Yeah. Okay, so I don't know if I've skipped some people here, but I hope I haven't.
I'm sorry, I'm really bad at that.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
You're much better.
No problem. Because we're going to move on to another topic, but I want to make sure I get everybody for this topic because this is huge. I think I wanted to actually ask people. I mean, the thing I read about Michael Harriot, he really moved me. It was a quick read, and it was. I don't know, and maybe you can speak to this, and maybe some of the people out, watching, but I don't know at exactly what point do people, century after century, when the white people are saying, well, it's just not the right time, be patient, no, we gotta move slowly, we don't have too much it's like, at what point do we say, my God, something's got to happen?
Well, it goes back to the old question, if not now, when?
Right. I mean,
no one ever has a good answer for that, especially when you look at the record of contributions and things that show that when we are fully integrated into society's subtleties and nuances in every way, shape, or form, in every corner, that everyone does better when everyone has a full chance to be at the table to participate. And why the dogma of the conservative party that has now been brought into an abomination of an extreme that is in this dictatorial authoritarian state has lost sight of that, we don't know, because the empirical evidence clearly shows that the opposite is true. Their heroes, Ronald Reagan with Reaganomics and the trickle down and all that sort of thing, that
been proven
have been proven that those financial policies do not work, and they certainly do not work for the masses.
They're not working now either.
They're not working now. We have been $1 trillion per year in further debt under this administration's policy. He's going off of what he perceives to be the economy, and it's a very false positive.
He's getting.
The 1% are doing well, and that's making the stock market look good. unemployment is down only because people are working more than one job in order to
Yep.
ends.
They're doing whatever it takes.
So it's a false narrative to claim that the economy is doing well when the people at the lower ends are struggling. There are more people that are poor and indigent than ever before. The gap between the haves and the
It's
have-nots
huge.
than it's ever been ever before. The gap between the educational thing is going back to your component of the rant where you talked about Betsy DeVos. She is implementing her agenda, which is an absolute nightmare for the poor and disadvantaged. And as you correctly pointed out, that's not just for people of color, but that's for poor white people as well.
Yep, and there are probably more of those because, so people don't get, and this kind of drives me crazy, and I want to read some of Michael's comments because he has some great points to make. People don't quite get this. If police are being brutal and murdering in cold blood with impunity black people, do you really think they're not doing it to white people too? It's just black people are getting it in exponentially much higher percentages, but it's like it's in everybody's best interest. Even if you're a racist little shit, I'm sorry, it's in your best interest to have police. Sorry, just going there. It's in all of our best interest to have police who actually care about the citizens and are not military lunatics. And I know a lot of them aren't military lunatics, but it only takes so many. It's in our best interest to have professional, well-trained police who are trained in de-escalation and understanding the difference between an inebriated person and a disabled person and a person on drugs. These are not like hard things to teach. They teach teachers this all the time. Our federal government just doesn't want to. That's what it is. And for white people to not realize that we're getting it too. It's just, maybe it's not in the newspaper as much because the percentages happening to our brothers and sisters who are black and brown and indigenous and mixed and all these are so much greater but white people are that, not getting it, that they really think that it's not hurting everybody. I don't get it.
It gets back to the Lyndon Johnson thing.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
As long as their perception is that as long as they're white, they'll always have an advantage. The lowest white person will always have an advantage over the highest black person. They will go out of their way and even suffer significant malady and other.
And it's a false truth. It's a lie. A false truth. We call that a lie. So yes. It's a total lie. And why? And I'm not trying to bag on white folks, but we started this. We built this system of white supremacy from the very beginning. I'm just saying. I like to keep it real. And maybe we should take some freaking responsibility to help, support, not lead, but support dismantling it. Because it's also not good for us. It's just that our self-esteem of false, narrative seems to just be so important to us. I don't know how people live a lie like that. If the best thing you ever did in your life is get born white, I'm sorry, that's kind of pathetic. It's like I think we could be better than that. And it's just my take. But let me read some of other people's things here. Anastasia, there is to Michael, there's a groupthink in the military, there's a groupthink, and there's an epidemic of racism and sexism, so it will fracture the military. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Michael, back to Anastasia, those are my thoughts. Plus, the military is 100% hierarchical, and they are programmed in authoritarianism. True, but I'm sure there is a veneration to the principle of liberalism in the Constitution, but I hold no hope. I see no way of stopping Trump. And I mean ever. I believe it's over, and we are already at dictatorship. Democracies fail all the time. Yeah, for me, I'm the jury's out. I'm not as definitive as Michael is, but It's not looking good. It's not looking good. I'm not real positive. I don't know how you think we can pull this off, Don, and get out of this.
With respect to which topic?
With respect to Trump not being well on his way, or at least somebody, to destroying our democracy, and we're either going to go severe dictatorship, or I don't.
He
We can swing back to socialism a little bit, or
well, certainly further away from the authoritarian dictatorship that he has made such a significant footprint on, that is far and away beyond what anybody's wildest nightmares previously would have thought we would have gotten to this at this point in snapshot in time.
Some people's. I mean, he's outdone himself, but and I'm not saying anything. What you're saying, I agree with, Don, absolutely. But when he promised and vowed and threatened and ran his campaign on harming and doing evil, rotten things to pretty much every person in every historically marginalized group in America, I, for one, believed him. And it's kind of what he's been doing. And I don't want to be right. It's just he said what he was going to do, and lo and behold, he's doing it. So he's kept, as far as I'm concerned, he's kept his promises. And they are really bad. So I thought he was going to be bad, you know?
Well, it is very bad.
Yeah.
Some of the comments are talking about defining the difference between socialism and communism. And the problem is that on a very basic level, where some people are operating, which is emotional, they do not know how to discern the difference between socialism and communism. Socialism, successful socialism, like is being practiced in the Scandinavian countries, is a model that is when socialism is done correctly. What is a problem is when socialism has been incorrectly identified with communism, and communism has been led by an authoritarian dictatorial leader, that things get totally corrupted, totally misconstrued, totally misunderstood. Yeah. And that has caused a problem because people that don't look at the details think that socialism and communism are equal and the same.
Right.
And
can I jump in and say?
Yeah, I don't know how we get out of that situation, because it's a standard thing that the people that are against any type of discussion about socialism will immediately label it as the same as communism, and then you have an emotional food fight and nobody's listening anymore.
Yeah, well, part of the thing, and absolutely done, and part of the thing is, as Trump said, and you know, just ask any you know, attorney, litigation attorney. We like people who don't think and don't like to think, because if you have, you know, a lot of experience in critical thinking skills, then you really aren't going to be swayed quite as much as someone maybe who doesn't have experience in critical thinking skills and analysis and kind of deep, non-surface level thinking. And so what's happening is Trump is feeding his base what they need. And what they need is to think that socialism is you know, the same as communism. And he, in his little words he uses, he's very good at being an evil genius in this con man sort of thing, because he's feeding these people exactly what they want. You see, that's like, even when he says something simple like global warming, yeah, right, it's freezing out. He doesn't understand what global warming is, what climate change. He either doesn't or he's pretending he doesn't, but his people following him are like, yeah, you see, he gets it, because they don't follow it either, and they don't get it either. So he's really feeding them a lot of this stuff about communism, and like he calls, who does he call commie? He calls one of the junior representatives commie. Is that Representative Court? He knows what he's doing. He's a con man. He's feeding it. So I totally get what he's doing. It's terrifying. It's truly, truly terrifying. And I wanted to jump in and zoop. I lost all of my comments. Wah. So we'll have to find them back again.
If I could interject.
Sure.
Yeah.
While I'm searching.
Yes, while you're searching.
I'm searching.
There's a discussion going on between kitchen politics and learn social justice and Martin, and trying to define the differentiation between socialism, capitalism, liberalism, communism. All of these different isms are different, but the differentiations between them are hard for people that break things down into simple see spot run, see snake, kill snake, shoot first, ask questions later. Very simple terms are what people try to understand things in bites. And when they can't understand them in small bites like that, they kick in their emotions, and their emotions go to the very lowest common denominator of that.
Well, that's what Trump's counting on, of course.
Yes, exactly. And that's exactly what he feeds off of. And so this is part of the reason why they want to destroy education for anybody but the elite.
Absolutely.
And by they're talking about people that have money that are not necessarily elite in terms of their social consciousness, their moral compass, etc., as we see by the person at the top that has a lot of money but has no moral compass. And so it's
no ability to analyze and think. It would appear.
It's very difficult to provide the true, correct definition of these different philosophies and have it absorbed, understood, and practiced correctly by people that are only looking for the headline. And I don't know what the answer is.
He's purposely confusing people.
But it's not going to happen overnight is the bottom line.
Well, education, in my mind, is one of our only tools. You can't force education on somebody, but boy, there's some people right smack in the middle. Like the thing I read about Dr. Martin Luther King. He couldn't have been more spot on. You know, it's not the extremes on one side. It's the people in the middle who do nothing and think that they don't educate themselves, and they think being nice to everybody and just doing that is, they don't get it. It's a system, and they're being had, and they're allowing this to happen. The vast majority of white folks, it's not that they're horrible, horrible people, but they're certainly not way over educating themselves. They're going about their life as if this doesn't impact them, and that being nice to everybody, this is just my take, is enough. And it's not. It's not close to enough. The elite who are running our nation, they're not going to go down without a fight. We're going to need an extremely large amount of support. And we need, just like I said in the last time I was on, talking, is the whole, I hate to say it, but Horton Hears a Who's story, is we need to make noise in greater amounts and open your mouth, and every voice counts. And I'm very sorry that I've actually memorized that, but that's a whole other story. But I think there are some shirkers who need to open their mouth up and help.
Martin and Michael have agreed on a point that
Okay.
Martin, the secret of freedom lies in educating people, whereas the secret of tyranny is in keeping them ignorant. And that is absolutely spot on.
And a lot of people always ask me, and not trying to toot my own horn or whatever, but why are you so into education? It's because it's one of the only things that actually works. It's one of the only things that actually works. And it's bottom up, and it should be top down. Like I always say, if it was top down, this nation doesn't have to be racist. It's a choice. We don't have to have these systems of racism. But the people in power love it. It's easy to cure racism. They just don't want to. And that's disgusting.
Some people refuse to acknowledge that it exists.
No. I'm talking on a systemic level. We could, if our federal government got on board, we could educate the people, and it's not a hard concept when it's given to white folks slowly over time. The people at the top don't want to do that. Because if they did, guess what? This is just my opinion. They'd be doing it. Because they're benefiting from it, you know? They're benefiting from keeping the masses fighting and blaming everyone but who needs to be, you know, who's really doing it. That's just kind of my take. I'm glad that they found a common ground, and that is actually so true. So I'm into education. Daryl, it doesn't matter, his base doesn't care. They want white America back, and that's what keeps telling them, and that he'll bring it back. I mean, yep. And we've been a plutocracy for years and run by oligarchs. That's Anastasia. Oh, true, Michael, you're not. Okay. Neil. Did I cover Neil? I want to jump all over the... I will get jumped all over by everyone, but you will not, Neil. We love you. The Democrats are hurting their own cause with the division and the impeachment issue. They need to get back to business, find a person who can beat him. We're not jumping on him, are we? Absolutely. It's just so hard to... Yeah. Do you want to make any comments? Did you want to say something?
I believe it was Michael who said that I skipped the guillotine part, and that was intentional. We're trying to in embracing this group, this community that Kim has developed. We are trying to embrace everyone and bring everybody up to a equivalent level of both understanding, compassion, and effective, positive energy moving forward, so that we can all, you know, a high tide raises all ships, so that we can all cooperate and graduate.
So you're trying not to go there, is what you're saying.
Yeah, I'm trying not to be extreme with every different one of those isms has an extreme component. And so we want to avoid that and stay as much in the mainstream of what is the embodiment of what's good for everyone that's concerned. So it's when you go to the salad bar, everybody doesn't like everything, but you get enough of the good stuff so that everybody gets a good balanced diet and nutrition, etc. And you want to maintain the identity and the contribution of all of the different entities in a way that they are respected and not marginalized or put down in any way. But at the same time, for the greater good, you have to go with what works best for all concerned. Someone criticized me saying people of color versus saying black people. Well, if you look closely, you see that we had the Asian internment camps during World War II, when Japanese were marginalized and prejudiced against. We continue to have a problem with Native Americans, who have the biggest right to have their rights not trampled on, exploited, etc., that continue to have that happen to them.
They have the most of any group in America.
Which is absolutely horrendous.
Unconscionable.
I have a Native American background in my background as well, so I feel very strongly about that anyway as well. And you have the brown people on the border that Trump has been so emphatically prejudiced against. So it's not just black people. Yes, black people have an enormous burden to bear with regard to the prejudices that are enacted against them, but we also need to acknowledge and embrace all of our brothers and sisters of color in terms of the adversarial things that are going on against them. So that's why it's important to say it in that fashion and to bring people together in that fashion.
Good point. Let me see. Learn social justice. I didn't get to say hello to you. Hello there. China's not socialist either. It's authoritarian with Chinese characteristics. Right. It's hard to find a pure model of anything, really. But The average person has no idea what socialism, liberalism, capitalism, communism really is. Neil, this is true. Michael, Kim, what do you think will happen when systemic racism is mitigated or eliminated? Systemic racism is not going to be eliminated from anywhere completely unless we're living in this like utopian, like, be kind of cool, but I think there's always going to be a certain nuance, because you see, a lot of it is you can't prove it, because I didn't hire them not because of that. I hired them because I didn't hire them because of this, and you can't prove it. You can't force. You don't have mind control. There's always going to be some, in general, but the level we're at now is unacceptable, completely unacceptable, and there is absolutely no reason why every single person who goes to an American school cannot learn anti-racism, anti-bigotry, and how to uphold inequality and the truth about our real racial history. It's not our fault. We didn't do it. We're living into it. We were born into it. But when you see it, you don't do nothing. And you don't live the lie, and you don't perpetuate the lie. So I don't really think that. It's a great question. I'm not sure what I think will happen, but I think once people start realizing that actually we're all human and we all are kind of the same, and that race is a real it's a construct. It's made up, and we get the history. I think it's going to raise us all up, and to a level that's acceptable, and there'll be less and less and less. Right now, we've never acknowledged. This nation's in denial. Half the white adults in America think we're in a post-racial era. They're pretty out of it. I'm going to say they're not getting this. And so I'm not ever saying, it'll be like Star Trek or whatever, utopian society, but we're not even close. I mean, right now, I've read that we are more segregated than like before 64. We have to be better than this. There's no reason in a nation like this, and I mean, there is a reason, but it's time for the people to start caring about their nation. The freedom isn't free. Just because you never thought of America maybe turning into a regime, it's going to go one way or the other. Historically, this is what we do. Democratic representative democracies. It's kind of what we do. So I hope that answers your question a little bit. It's a great question. Let me see. Oh, Martin, hello. I'm a leftist today, but in 1968, Democrat. I'm happy you're here if you're still here. I think I'm not getting to people very fast. Enlightenment was obsessed with liberty. Liberty is the root of all of our problems. Learning social justice. Do you want to speak to that, or I saw you kind of perk up? He always teaches us more. Kim, you're 20 minutes behind in the comments. If you eliminate racism today, we'll still have rule by I don't see the racism as the fundamental problem. I know, get my own show. Oh, I know you don't see that. But part of the problem is, and I'll speak to that for a minute. Michael, I know I'm 20 minutes behind in the comments. Thanks. I'm getting there. Part of it is this. People that could be on the right side of history and could be helping and could be, making our nation actually a decent place, right now are spending all their energy blaming black people for all their problems. And I feel that it's a huge distraction. It's taking resources away. We need these people to get on board and realize that they are helping the oligarchy. They are helping maintain it. They're helping keep it wealthy because of their hatred. So I don't know if this is like, I'm kind of explaining this right, but once they pull themselves out of their, pull their heads out of their you-know-whats, they're actually going to be able to be because they're very passionate people, obviously, because they're sure that these black people and people of color are doing horrible things to them. Once they educate themselves, we only need a certain percent more of people. It doesn't need to be everybody, but it needs to be more than it is now. Hello, we have Trump, to get this. And we'll have the numbers to be able to stop the oligarchy and have more power to the people. So I don't know if I'm explaining it right, but that's how I feel. That right now we're wasting these people with fighting the wrong. They're blaming the wrong people for their problems, and it's causing more problems for everybody. I hope that explains it. Let me see. It's good to hear you. I hope to see you in 2020. I suspect okay. Ooh, Michael. Don, it's good to hear you. I hope to see you in 2020. I suspect 2016 was our last presidential election. I know you think that. It's got to be a horrible Anastasia. It's funny whether black people say reparations is a deal breaker, but the Japanese and the Jews received it and everyone is good. Oh, absolutely. And this is my very arrogant white opinion. They don't want to give it to black people because they're black people. Oh, they're for reparations for everybody else, but not for black people. We have a very sick sort of thing going on with white folks, and I think it goes back to slavery. We've never faced the truth. Just my take. Jump in anytime. I just want to get through some of these and catch up. Why not, Pat? Why not reparations? Everyone else has got them. So why not for blacks? Absolutely. I think Michael O-U-T. I think that means he left. Oh, I'm at the bottom. Hey, if I'm at the bottom, I'm not 20 minutes behind. Okay. Social justice. Help people is voluntary. It's up to the charities and the social movements, not the state, according to liberals. I don't know. I mean, oh, Michael's still there. Kim, I just snapped my fingers and all racism limit. The oligarchs still own our government. Okay. Anastasia, African slaves built the primary wealth in this country, and a lot of people need to study the UN Declaration of Six. Yeah, they don't want to study anything. It's kind of sad. Let's see. That's as far down as I can scroll. Let me see. Maybe more.
There are two more comments that I see.
I'm trying. Oh, gotcha. Neil, the right thought that when Obama was president, it would be the last election. Yeah. Yeah. You know, I don't know. I'm definitely not. I wouldn't place bets on this. And I understand, Michael, how you're feeling, and Neil, absolutely. Neil follows the right as well as the left, and yeah. Very good. Did I miss anything? Kitchen politics. Since William Jennings Bryan until 1972. Always believed in having social safety net for these less affluent. It's when corporate Democrats took over, we became GOP. Can't read the rest of it. Got it. Martin, learning social. Oh, this is for learning social justice. That's funny. Papa Bush said that about private churches and charities after Reagan policies caused a significant homeless population to develop. Pat, they don't want blacks to have an equal playing field. Absolutely not. Right. They are afraid to let blacks have an equal playing field because they know there will be the true shock. Yeah, black, like I always say, and I said it in a lot of these shows, black people are kicking ass and taking names, okay? I don't think I've ever put it that way before, but I'm just going to say it. If you think about the gazillion, trillion, yes, that's a made-up number, things that we as white folks, not us personally, but have done to try to stop them from accumulating wealth, education, my God, property, everything. We have done everything we can to stop them from being able to share in, and have equity and equality. Yet, lo and behold, they still succeed. So yeah, that's just my take. It's my very white take. Do you know what I'm saying, Don? It's like,
Yeah, there are four things that Blacks were not allowed to do during slavery that it is important for people to understand, that those are considered to be the main four things that you must now fully participate. One was to own land or property. One was to own a business. The other was the right to vote. And the fourth one was to be able to get an education.
yep.
So those are the four primary foundational things that have always been suppressed upon marginalized people, especially Black people. And that is the roadmap to where people need to be headed in order to try and mitigate and both climb up and be in the mix with the rest of the level playing field that will never truly be level, but that's always the goal. That is, education is the ultimate equalizer, and then you need to add the other three things in the mix in order to have an equivalent basis of total immersion and participation and voice in this society.
It's a really great point. And you know what's so crazy? Right now, Black women are the most educated group of people in the United States. And that is
Fantastic. That is absolutely true. And that's
awesome.
That's a wonderful thing. And they've had the most significant component of influence on the voting circuit as well.
Yep. So I always think to myself, redlining, sundown towns, my God, slavery, after slavery, oh my gosh, Black codes. I could name them all. These just over time, still happening to this day. And all the systemic racism and all this BS. Yet they are still making it. It's amazing. Let me see. Social justice, that's my point, that we need socialism, yeah. Pat, the system's against the Blacks, and it was designed to not let Blacks succeed. Absolutely. The kitchen politics, we can never even the playing field, because back in the 80s they used divide and conquer using drugs and guns. Even before that, after 1921 Wall Street murders, it was house sneakers versus the rest. Yeah, I mean, historically, they've that's why I'm so, Michael, education is the ultimate equalizer. And part of the thing that just kills me is why we let our government and states allow this state tax thing with the schools, so that if you were redlined into a very, very impoverished area, you're screwed, because there's sorry, I'm just saying, there's a cycle of poverty that they are putting you in. You'll have the worst teachers, they can't pay them, the most crowded classrooms, the worst infrastructure, the worst supplies, and you're living in conditions that don't have a set infrastructure with all the services that you need to be. I mean, it is a vicious cycle, 100% on purpose. And that is disgusting. I mean, have you seen the difference between a wealthy school district and an impoverished one? I have. I taught in a very impoverished school district in Compton, California, where literally I had 40 kids in my class. 40. I was an elementary school teacher. I had 40 little children. It's insane. I don't know. I'm just saying.
Well, our education discussion leads us back to DeVos, who is trying to defund everything with regard to public education and going with the voucher system, which only is an advantage for people that already have resources. She has also wiped out this is very interesting, because she's against both women and minorities. She has taken away the rights of the civil rights of, and I'm going to say it again because it is
pro-rape.
Black people, but all people of color, to have any civil rights with regard to the educational process. And the major manipulation she has is with regard to loans, student loans, because one of her companies is one of the big conglomerates of running the student loan industry.
Absolutely.
He is making it harder for people to get loans and more heavily punished when they are not able to keep up with their loan payments, etc.
The woman's a sicko. Sorry, just had to add that in.
He is taking money away from the public school system so that only charter schools, private schools, voucher encouraged schools will be able to survive, and everybody else will die on the vine and become simple laborers that have to follow along like sheep and give only what is parsed out to them by those that are in significant power. And clearly,
she's destroying our schools. She's trying to destroy it.
She's doing a very effective job at it. It's horrific.
Yeah, and
totally her Cruella de Vos label.
You know, it's amazing how a woman, I mean, I hate to say it, how a woman can actually try to make it easier for young women on college and university campuses to be raped and get away with it.
That's an absolutely amazingly horrible thing that she is also a support of, that there be no redress for women in that situation to be able to have the hard fought for rights that they had previous to her interjection into this department and on this particular legal issue.
Yeah, it could go on and on about her because what she's doing with her adoption agency, that's her Christian white, no people in the LGBTQ community allowed, where she's at this time, she's trying to. It's a profitable business, very profitable, and she is also trying to get the kids that were ripped. I mean, it's just, I could go on and on. It's all kind of mixed up, and Cruella, Cruella de Vos is actually a kind of on the right on. I hate to say it. She's a very bad lady, for lack of a better way to put it. Let us get to some of these, and then we have a couple other topics that we can jump onto if you want to. Kitchen politics. Until we unite, we will always be stagnant. Education and taking opportunities when it is available is the only way out. Yeah, I kind of see it like that too. Martin, Don, exactly. Blacks never get their 40 acres and became landowners. They never got their 40 acres and became landowners. If they had, we certainly would have changed society today. As I recall, whites got plenty of free land. Yeah, they even got reparations. Slave owners got reparations. Hello? That's messed up. Learn social justice. Education is not enough. If you teach them liberalism, we will end up in the status quo. We need a socialist and critical history education. Yeah, I mean, we need a lot of things. At this point, we don't even teach real history, so we're not really even close right now. Michael, Don said, education is the ultimate. I was just praising. Yeah, I thought so. Learning social justice, I can't repeat it enough. Liberalism needs to be dethroned as an ideology. And I think people are really confused about leftism, liberalism, socialism. I think I get what you're saying because you've explained it before on Kitchen Politics, but I think that can be a whole show in and of itself, maybe. Uh-oh, people are talking. Okay, let me just see here. I gotta catch back up. Sorry about that.
No, I think you've made a good point, and part of what is trying to be defined and differentiated here are concepts that we talked about earlier were complex enough so that most general audiences don't have a clear understanding of the differentiation between those things. And then they look for the simple solution and they listen to the person with the loudest voice that makes a proclamation about what liberalism, socialism, communism, et cetera, all of the different isms are. And some people try to merge them and oversimplify them into what they are not. And that's where significant problems arise, because now you have people that are arguing about apples and oranges, and they're not talking about the same things, because the different definitions and understandings of what it is they're arguing about are totally different. They have a totally different lens through which they're looking at the same topic. And until you get to a standard that everybody understands and can agree upon, and then you discuss the pros and cons and the merits of those standards as everybody has an equal or level understanding of what they are, that's when you can go forward. Until then, you're throwing out terminology that, kind of like in the Peanuts cartoon, when the adults are talking and the kids are listening, and the adults all sound like wah, wah, wah.
Wah. Yep, exactly. Yeah, and unfortunately, much of the propaganda has been completely kind of pushing the idea that to confuse people. They don't want. I mean, an educated population is scary, and they do not want it. So a lot of the propaganda it goes against, that kind of thing, so that the people go, yeah, that, and they don't. It hurts to think. I mean, it does. I'm just saying, it hurts me a little bit, and I'm just saying that do it anyway. I actually put a post last week. I was reading, talking to some people who are extremely overtly racist, over the top, and it just, I got motivated to put that post. It wasn't to those people, but it was like, but let me see. Oh, Michael is suggesting, tyranny, Timothy Snyder, excellent, easy, short read, and How Democracies Fall. And yeah, if you are looking for reading, he has The Republic by Plato. Oh my gosh, not for the faint of heart. Fainting right now. Faint of heart. Michael, I read that. Martin, Kim, education has been effectively defunded for 40 years. I know it has, but as a person who taught in a classroom with not 1 cent, just a bunch of kids in Compton, lots of shooting, and I'm not, I got one book from my house. I brought it in, and I wrote my own curriculum. In the old days, you have to write every subject matter, and you do it. And I see places in countries that don't have funding, and they still teach. I'm totally grassroots. Like, I had my kids learning stuff. We didn't have books. It was a joke. I literally got, I'm not saying, oh, I'm so great. It's just there are people who can do this stuff. And I know you're probably one of them, Martin, because I know you. But funding is really nice. But you can teach. And you can get brilliant kids and teach them how to think. And make them learners, lifelong learners. And yeah, funding's really nice. But I mean, I get it. I do get it. I just kind of was showing the other side. I hope that wasn't insulting or anything. There's nothing wrong with classical liberalism. The problem is capitalism, Michael. Capitalism is an economic system, not a governing philosophy. And I'm not speaking for Michael, but right now, it is a governing philosophy here. And that's disgusting. Because look what it's doing. It's not supposed to be a governing philosophy. We're supposed to have that mixed with some, we're all humans, but no. Right now, I don't know what you think, Don, and what everyone else thinks, but greed is at an ultimate. I mean, greed over humanism, greed over people.
Well, we've gone
nuts. Cuckoo.
You have a president that is the embodiment of the 7 deadly sins. You have people that are making suggestions regarding a solution to the predicament that we're in right now. And unfortunately, the leader of the free world not only won't read a book, a textbook, or even a newspaper, but is limited to 140 characters and has trouble with that.
Well, I was going to say, that's putting it nicely, because As a reading
as
specialist,
well as
I've watched what he
contradicting
does,
himself.
and
Yes,
I am not convinced he can read. And I'm not trying to be rude. I'm being dead serious. He shows
I
signs.
agree with you.
What's that?
I agree with you.
He shows, and I'm honestly not trying to be nasty. He shows signs of a person who struggles with reading. And the reason I know that is because I was a reading specialist and I worked with tons and tons of people who struggle with reading. Does not mean they're not intelligent. It means they struggle with reading, and they need to have other coping skills. And he really does show signs that, I'm just saying.
Well, it's worse. He doesn't have a conscience. He doesn't have a soul. He doesn't
Yeah,
have a moral compass.
his reading is the least of
There are
his.
so many things that he's lacking. It's amazing that he is where he is doing what he's doing, and it's a tremendous. He's obviously going to have to be pulled out of there, dragging with heel marks in the carpet, and it's not going to be a pretty thing. And that concern was expressed earlier by several
Yeah.
of the people that are chiming in, and I agree. It's a very serious concern.
And he's also hasn't he actually made basically spoken out and said, "Oh, my people aren't going to be happy if I don't,"
He's made a lot of proclamations like that,
he's a real
just like
sicko.
thinks he can stand in the middle of Times Square and shoot somebody and not
Do
any.
you know what? Yeah. Do you know what I'm
His
talking about when
25 to 37% is solid no matter what he does.
Yeah. Well, yeah. My concern was, the peaceful success, changing of the guards, so to speak, is, and him talking about that in our country that's some scary stuff in my mind. Like the signs they're seeing saying, if you impeach him and if he doesn't win, and geez Louise. That's where I start just going downhill, going, we are in trouble. Before he was elected, I thought the first thing he's going to do is going to shut the borders for our own safety. I mean, I kind of had a little fantasy about, and it wasn't a good one, about what he might try to do. Michael, the economic system is supposed to be a tool of society. Society was not supposed to be the tool of the economic system. Great points. Markets were intended to serve people. People aren't supposed to serve markets. I think that is very, very, fantastic comment. It really is. Kitchen Politics, read The Catcher in the Rye. It will explain what the hell is going on in today's society. The Grapes of Wrath. Great books. Okay. Learn Social Justice. Well, that is a
Night, Michael. Thank you for your contributions. He's got to turn in because he's got to get up.
He has to get up so early. Thank you, Michael. You're amazing tonight. Thank you so much for educating. And I love that the people listening are the educators. I mean, it's awesome. I love it. Makes me really happy. I learned something continuously on this program. Let me see. Learn social. Well, that learn social justice. That is multiculturalism, bro. Do you support liberal culturalism? Class divisions are part of multiculturalism. Not sure who that's going to. Question-wise.
I don't support the class system in its extreme, which is what it tends to migrate to when it's imposed. It does exactly what is happening by supposed accident right now, in that you have large divisions between the haves and the have-nots.
Yeah.
And you have a natural prejudice against those that are in the different alleged class levels. So it's a very dysfunctional way of going about creating a social norm, because it can only create further strife as one level tries to assimilate out of the lower level to reach a higher level. Even if they reach that level, they're considered to be an outcast. And once again, you have this class within class against class prejudice that creates more strife, stress, dysfunction, lack of cooperation, and it all eventually collapses into something that doesn't work.
Yeah, well, I think, can almost pinpoint some of the larger things, like Citizens United. It's just I can see over the years things happening. Our checks and balances are not really doing their job. I mean, like I said in another show, I remember when I was a kid, a lemonade stand was a viable thing for a kid to do. Now with big business, kids don't even have lemonade stands anymore. They know that the place down the road with you know what I'm saying. It's really changed the feel of everything. Entrepreneurs, I don't know, maybe I'm imagining things, but it seemed like, I know white people had at least some, like, moderately, well off, like, middle class and up, like, could kind of believe in the American dream, but I don't know. It's changed drastically. It's a feel. I'm not very scientific about this feel, but it's definitely a feel. We've gone downhill fast.
If the election were held today, who do you think could beat Trump? The polls say that Biden or Bernie could, but I don't know that either one of them is going to emerge at the end of.
Yeah, who asked that? I didn't go down to the bottom. My God, I am.
Michael, I believe it was Michael.
Michael, I thought Michael went to bed. Michael, you're going to be exhausted tomorrow.
Neil asked that. My bad. Neil asked that.
Oh, Neil asked that. Okay. Let me see here. Pat, well, Michael, you can thank Trump for that because that's what he is trying to do to this country. Learn social justice. If ethnic schools are okay to have, then rich schools are also okay. Liberalism is the problem again. And I know you believe that, learning social justice. I actually, yeah. Michael, Trump is just the final symptom of 40 years since Reagan. Yeah. And part of it is, we love to talk about Trump ever since, he got elected. And is pushing his agenda of racism, bigotry, and inequality, which is what social issues. He has been kind of the star of the show, but the truth is that what Michael said is absolutely right. If the people didn't want him, he wouldn't be here. And I know he didn't win the outright vote, but if enough people, he could have been, people should have been disgusted by him. I mean,
yes, they should.
And they weren't.
Neil
Even
also
the people
asked
who didn't vote for him.
Narcissistic. He thinks he is unbeatable. Yes, I do think that he believes
that. Say that again. I didn't quite hear you on that.
Neil asked, "Is Trump so narcissistic? He thinks he is unbeatable." And yes, I think that he does believe that.
Well, yeah, personally, he's asking personally. Yeah, Davos is trying to do away with the public education altogether and privatize it. She has church. Oh, she has a church services degree, by the way. Yeah, no, I just keep it real here. She's a religious lunatic. I said it. Neil, other than Trump being pulled out of office, do you think we can get, okay. Destroying our education. Oh, Don, other than, hang on a second. Let me just see here. It scrolled up and it went away. Don, Neil wants to know, other than Trump being put out of office, how do we get rid of her policies that are destroying our education system? You didn't speak to that, did you, Don?
No, I did not.
That was to you.
It will only happen with a change of administrations.
Absolutely.
It won't happen within the confines of this current administration. Even in the face of outright criticisms from many strong voices, he is still. What's the latest department that he just filled? Is that the Interior Department?
I can't remember. I know what you're talking about, but I don't remember. Somebody else will tell us if we scroll down.
Anyway, it slips my mind, but he and 4 of the top leaders in that department are all under investigation by the Justice Department for inappropriate actions.
Yeah. I mean, this is crazy. It just, the man needs to leave. It's like,
But like everyone has pointed out, he's only going to leave kicking and screaming and dragged out by the authorities. He's not going to. The Republicans have at every turn thwarted, blocked every effort to normalize and protect the integrity of the voting process, which means that they're in bed with whoever is corrupting it, and they want to go the way that it is, because as long as they have an advantage for it, they don't want to change anything. They think it's obvious that they know that there's something going on that helps them. This is what makes it so flagrant and so corrupt and so abominable. They understand that they have a distinct advantage by those foreign entities that are. This latest attack was from the Saudis, not even the Russians. The electoral process.
Yeah.
And as long as it's someone who is helping them. And none of those foreign entities belong in the middle of our voting process. And if they were helping the Democrats, they would be screaming bloody murder and insisting that all of these different things be implemented in order to change that.
Yeah, and absolutely, and like I say almost every show, when Trump denied knowing the Russians and denied this, and and said, oh, interference, that's ridiculous. The Russians he knew he was lying from the beginning, unless he doesn't listen to his own FBI, who knew that 27 other countries from 2004 on had already been impacted, with their elections. So, Trump lies like every time he opens his mouth. When he was, denying all that, it's crazy. His own FBI could have told you. There's an article in the paper talking about it. This is not good. I keep saying that. I don't know how else to say it. I cannot repeat enough that learn social justice. That liberalism needs to be dethroned. It's an ideology. Social justice. Michael, I hope he's asleep. Can you specify why liberalism is the problem? In 200 characters, it's hard. I know. Completely disagree with you. Let me just scroll. Kitchen politics. Since Reagan? No, since Barry Goldwater in 1964, and arguably from the John Birch Society in the 1950s. That's what he's speaking to what you had, I think what you had said. Let me see. I am, not good. Sorry about, wow, a lot of people have been writing things. Goodness. I am skipping. Going back.
Where are you, Kim?
I am way up there. Michael needs to go to sleep. Pat, you've heard the old saying, if you have enough money, you can move mountains. Yeah, with good point. See, Michael, good stuff from Martin. Kitchen politics, cheerio to Michael. Everyone's loving on Michael. Neil, Don, if the election were held today, who do you think could beat Trump? You already answered that, I think.
Yes, it did.
Good night, kitchen politics. Anyone in my economic class is my brother and sister, bottom line for me. I like that. And kitchen politics, you got nabbed on something. Okay. Don and Angry Soccer Mom, do you think idiot Trump worshipers will lose their shit and get violent if and when Trump and the Republicans lose the White House and the U.S. Senate in 2020?
For a while, it's entirely possible, yes, but it won't last.
I think it's entirely possible, too. And I hate to be a betting woman, but I believe that when he's out, there will be a few things here, there, and everything, but they are too, and I don't want to, encourage them. I do not believe that they will be able to feel emboldened after he's gone enough to, and I think in the back of their minds, in their heart of hearts, they know he's hurting them too, and the longer he stays, the longer they'll notice that, but they'll still fight for him, but they'll know in the back of their head, kind of like, well, maybe this won't be so, I have to believe that somewhere in their head they know they're working against their own best interest. But
The biggest indicator will be when his support gets to 30 or below.
Yeah, it's going to be crazy.
That's the biggest indicator threshold mark. If it gets to 30 or below, not only will people start to jump ship, it'll be a groundswell. It will go.
The
It'll go
bandwagon
from
theory, like jump on the bandwagon. Why is that? Do you think?
Because you can't overcome that.
Yeah.
Statistically, and historically, 30% or lower is an impossible mountain to climb. Impossible.
Yeah, I do not get why anyone would want to be associated with such inhumanity, but that's just me. Okay, let's just.
As long as they're riding the wave of success where they have money that has been laundered through the NRA to the GOP, they are happy as clams. You saw where this Russian oligarch has suddenly invested $200 million in Kentucky, the poorest state where McConnell is. That's no accident, because this oligarch is from a company that was previously sanctioned. Trump administration removed the sanctions from a sanctioned Russian oligarch, and suddenly he's investing $200 million in Kentucky. And it makes McConnell look like a hero, so he just might get reelected. But right now, his approval rating in his own state is 33%. So hope looms eternal that he will be defeated, but money talks.
Yeah. Let me just, yeah. Okay. Michael, we've utterly failed as citizens in 2016. The Bill of Rights comes with an unwritten Bill of Responsibilities. Platitude, I know, but it's important that we have duties as citizens. And I boil that down to, and I know this is a terrible, terrible analogy, but for the simple folks like me, with great power comes greater responsibility. The little Spider-Man thing. And I truly believe that. And I'm not saying that's what you're saying, but and then there's always the idea that freedom isn't free. And I know my generation, we never got to see wars thrown on our face. We never got to see, it's not good. Add a little, or take away a little education, and we have a bad mix. People in my generation have dropped the ball because we don't remember the 60s. So we heard about them, but we also heard about them as a really cool, fun time. At least I did in high school. And they didn't want to pass that in 1964. They didn't want to. It wasn't a party. So, got a lot going against us. Martin, great show. Kim and Don, gotta go. Thank you so much for being here, Martin. You're awesome. And cheerio. Kitchen politics. You keep getting in trouble. With YouTube. Don, do you think... already got that one. So flagrant, so corrupt, and so abominable. Another great quote from Don. Was that you, Don?
Yes.
Cool.
They were quoting me.
Yeah, I like. Ooh, that's cool. Learn social justice. That's liberal democracy. Socialism is for participatory democracy, economic democracy, council democracy, and economic rights. Liberalism is the problem. I am getting the feeling that that's what you think, and I wish we could expand on that more and understand more about that, because we need to be saved. Let me see. Michael, learn social justice. There's not much you can teach me about the political philosophy of liberalism. There are inherent tensions in liberalism. Pat, got that right, Kit. Trump is you see? Stating the obvious. Yay. Thank you, Pat. Neil, you were right on, Don, with the Department of Interior that David Bernhardt replacing Ryan Zink. Yeah. Cannot say what this says. Mike ID off from Lakeisha. I don't know what that means, but maybe she'll tell us. Neil, in my opinion, the indicators will go up and down until after summer's over, and then the campaign is in full motion. Michael, Kim, I'm going to hate. Oh, yes, you are. You are going to hate. I think Michael has to get up at like 4 in the morning. So, yeah. Go to sleep. Learn self-justice. Freedom is worthless. Propaganda by the capitalist class. Okay. Pat, good night. I have to get up at 4. Oh, Pat has to get up at 4. Michael, if Pat's getting up at 4 a.m. and still here, just kidding. Just kidding. Michael, I'll add good night, Pat, and thank you so much for being here. I love when I see your name, that you're here. Seriously. Michael, I'll add again that racism isn't my primary issue, except that I do know that it is the primary motivator for voting on the right. Let me educate you, Michael. I'll teach you a few things. Just kidding. I'll add.
I think, speaking of indicators, if I could jump in for just a moment.
Could you speak up? I just can't hear you quite.
Speaking of indicators, if I could jump in for just a moment.
Absolutely.
I think that one of the things that gives some glimmer of hope is the fact that there's a huge amount of the Mueller report that's been redacted, that it will eventually come out piece by piece. There is also the parts that have already been revealed are being slowly dissected and revealed by those whose job it is to do that in the news media, and they're finding more and more cracks in the armor with regard to all of the misdeeds that have been accomplished by this administration. It made Barr look totally inept, corrupt, in effect, non sequitur with regard to his position in the office that he now holds. He is clearly compromised to the full extent of an indoctrination into the Trump administration. Yeah. There are several items that were brought out that are in plain sight now in the Mueller report that are currently being dissected and acted upon. And I think that as they go through the slow, they still have, because the administration is fighting every single subpoena, eventually those will be brought to light. The information will be brought out. It will be analyzed, and it will reveal really bad things. As these come out piece by piece, the majority of the public will become better educated. And even though we're not going to crack that 35% of his base, the middle people that are those swing voters will become so well educated on the horrific atrocities associated with this administration that they will have a clear and defined choice to make that will not be to go in the direction of continued corruption. And that, to me, is the glimmer of hope, if we're looking for that, with regard to that. And that has to be what is buoying up the marginalized people that are suffering the worst under this administration.
Good, great points. Oh goodness, let me see here. Michael says, for me personally, who should be asleep right now? I'll stick with Dr. King. It's the content of your character. And you know what? That is a fantastic idea, and I love that. But at this point, in my very arrogant white opinion, that's a great thing individually for people to do. It's not enough. We need to dismantle the system. We're not going to change it. It's just not enough. Look what's happening. That reminds me of being nice to everybody. Of course, that's a great thing, and treating everyone equally, and looking at their character and treating them based on their character. But first of all, it's great you're doing it, but I'm not sure that everybody is doing that. And also, it's not enough. the system continues. It wasn't meant. The system isn't broken. It's working perfectly. Just wasn't really meant to work for anyone other than the white folks and maybe the wealthier. Just my take. So, no, but I mean, it's a great idea, but it's just not enough. And that's my arrogant, privileged opinion. So, learning social justice. What is wrong with the goal of one class, one culture, and one identity? Socialist goals. Oh my gosh, I could write a book. That's a very loaded question. Which culture? Which identity? I mean, that's, if you started from a ground zero and started from we've had a few hundred years to go, and we aren't all the same culture, and we aren't all the same identity, and boy, how do we decide? That's a very loaded question. I'm not in a position to answer it, but I have my questions back to you. I hope that helped. I am not against socialism in any way, shape, or form. I just like to deal with what we have to work with right now. And my question again is, what culture? Whose identity? We got a lot of issues going on with that, but a great question. Always great questions. And Michael, because we are not all equal. Boy, the equity would have to come in. It's a complicated question. Neil says, oh my gosh.
Part of it goes back to what I mentioned earlier. Everybody needs to have the same standard definition and understanding in order for that to go forward in a way that will accomplish its goals successfully. And we're a long way from that. We need to take baby steps to educate people. Once again, back to an education issue. Until everyone is educated to a level where they fully understand the differences. Right now, the general populace cannot differentiate between socialism and communism because people that are intentionally trying to blur those lines are doing an effective job by approaching it from an emotional level, not an intellectual level. People cannot understand it on an intellectual level if they don't have the proper education and training to understand it as such. To them, there's no differentiation. And because of that, they get very upset and very passionate because they feel that you're insulting their intelligence and you're not giving them their due respect. And then they get even more angry and more frustrated and more against what it is you're trying to bring forth that will actually benefit them. But they don't see the benefit. They only see the stress that's brought on by their misunderstanding and them feeling that you're trying to impose something on them that they don't feel is a fit for.
Well, right, Don, and again we've discussed we have some very, very strong psychosocial occurrences like the Dunning-Kruger effect and the backfire effect. People, evolutionarily speaking, we really do tend to cling to what we think, and we don't want to change, and we don't want to be wrong, and there's a lot of tough dynamics going on. With people, this ego and whatnot. So it's a toughie. I am not personally against socialism. It's just I like to meet people, societies, groups where they're at, and we're not there. We're not even close right now. I mean, I guess that's as much as I could say. But I don't think we're not even close. I mean, ideally, yeah. But it's just not where we are. So it's kind of hard to grasp that. Let me see. Neil, Don, I am glad you brought this up about the cracks in the indicators by the polls and press. Thank you. That makes more sense than what I mentioned about when the campaigns begin. Learning self-justice. Michael, rich white people are superior? I don't know that that's what he was saying. Does he? Well, I guess he's going to say so. Social justice. No, it's not. It's a liberal, colorblind goal. Learn social justice. You and I have to chat offline. We have to talk because you have so many great things to say, and I think I could learn a lot from you. We need active justice. Michael, learn social justice. Is that what I said? Why? How very fit. Michael? Michael, go to sleep. Good night. It's not how we do it. Sorry. We don't talk that way to people. No put downs.
We're all getting a little tired here.
No put downs on my watch. Okay. Saifullah, do you believe in equality of opportunity or outcome? I'm not sure who that is. Oh, I skipped. Goodness. I'm sorry. I'm skipping people. My apologies. Oh, yes, I am. Oh, my goodness. I'm losing it here, guys. It's past my bedtime. Let me find where we were. A socialist culture and identity. That's what Learn Social Justice is saying. All you know about is, let me see, LOL. All you know is about ethnic identity. I am going to skip that because I'm not sure who that's addressing. Particularly, if it's me, put your dukes up. I'll fight you. Just kidding. Michael. Oh, okay. That's you guys are having a little squabble. I'm gonna skip that. Okay. Learn social justice. A socialist culture and identity is a distinct culture based on human development. Kitchen politics. Let's go to you for a minute. America is more than a melting pot. We are an ethnic salad. Yes, I definitely would say so. We are made up of many cultures, languages, and religions, woven together by our beliefs in freedom and democratic ideals. That sounds so beautiful. If only we could all.
That is actually the correct modern definition versus a melting pot. That is absolutely spot on.
You know what's so funny? When I graduated in multi-ethnic studies in college, and that was cutting edge stuff. I won't say how many years ago, but that was like, whoa, we're not a melting pot? That was cutting edge stuff when I was in college, saying that we're a salad bowl, kind of funny. And then it kind of trickled down to like society, regular society. Or it should be that way, but it is not. Yeah, I knew what you meant. Seifulmicgrath. Oh, I'm not good at reading that. Is laughing. Hopefully not at us. Learn social justice. Reforming liberals is going to take generations. Oh, yes. Michael, Don, he's still here? Oh, my God. The right always wins the war of words. The redefining of words, creating evocative, emotive symbols of words. Whoa, that was a mouthful. Do you want to speak to that or not? Not really.
Well,
seem to be talking to you.
There's argument for both sides of that equation. It's when they're in power, that is absolutely correct, and you get terminology like alternative facts, and that totally is meant to disrupt, confuse, and conflagate what's really going on. So in a way that's true, but it has a much lower impact when they are not in the position of authority that they're in right now.
Good point. Let me see. The person's name that I cannot, you'd think I'd be a phonics specialist, but I can't say it.
Sifu. That's pronounced Sifu. It's a martial arts term that refers to a senior ranking martial arts person.
Oh, that's so funny. I took 11 years of martial arts. I didn't know that. Oh, whoa.
McIlrath is what I think
what
it's
is,
saying.
What is he saying?
Sifu McIlrath.
Karate? China. Karate. Kung Fu? Karate? It's just Yeah, if anyone would know that, that would be Don. Thank you, Don. So tell me how to pronounce it. Okay, I'm just going to skip it.
Sifu.
No offense.
Sifu is the first four letters are pronounced Sifu, and
Sifu.
last it looks like it's McIlrath, as in wrath being a
Got
a
it.
vengeance type of thing.
Got it. Got it. Okay. Do you believe in equality of opportunity or outcome? I believe in equity. Equity, so that people level playing field. If I believed in equality of outcome, I guess that would make me someone who thought everybody should have like the same exact everything and same wealth and the same kind of, yeah, I mean, we're not all the same. People have skills and some people don't, and some people have other, yeah. No, it's an equity, equality of opportunity. I'm not saying life's perfect for everybody. I don't think that, but it's extremely, extremely unfair at this point. And anyone who studies history knows it. Anyone who studies anything knows it. So that's, yeah. No, I'd say, I hope I'm answering your question. I don't think people should be handed things if that's kind of what you're getting at. But right now we don't have equity, so, and we certainly don't have equality. So that's a good question. Michael, go to bed. Starting with Bush, G.W. Bush. In the debate with Michael Dukakis, you're a liberal. I remember at the time being I get called a liberal all the time. People get really mad. You're a liberal. I'm like, dang. That's funny. Michael, but they redefined liberal in the 80s, and the left never claims our own words. Kitchen. Oh, there's a doggy. Oh, okay. Yes, correct. Thank you. Yes. Gotcha.
My director of security is saying
you are correct. Thank you so much. I have been corrected. I appreciate it. I'm here to learn too. Let me see. Oh, not reading that. Kitchen politics. Kitchen politics. Oh, no. None of that here. No. Naughty kitchen politics. Neil, Don, if you have time, what is your definition of liberal versus conservative and far left and far right? Shanglu.
Well, I would probably not be able to give a good representation of those definitions at this snapshot in time, because I'm like some people that are signing off. I'm a little tired, so
and that's kind of putting you on the spot. I mean,
I'd prefer to address that the next time after I've had a moment to give it proper consideration. Yeah. But thank you for the question.
Yeah, it's a great question, but I think, and it is kind of tough stuff. Let's get into. Oh my goodness gracious. Okay. Shanglu Warlord. I was in Seattle last week. Grew up in the area. The 1 to 5 for 1 mile into the city center is covered with tent cities. City Hall has typhoid in it. I don't know what that means particularly. I know what typhoid is, and I know what City Hall is. Anyone want to help me out? Yeah. Shanglu, are you saying that we have a real problem with homeless people in America? Is that kind of what you're saying? Which I would absolutely agree. I don't call them homeless people usually. I call them people who have no homes to live in and have to live on the streets, because I don't like euphemisms. I mean, because they kind of make everything seem. I think he's at it. Oh, his dog's begging him to go out. We should probably wrap this up soon. But I just love doing this. Interesting. Oh my goodness. Anton, I am not a poker face. when I think something, you can read it. I cannot. I see that. Like if I think someone says something that's like weird, I'll be like, I can't control myself. I should never play poker. I never have, but let me just see here. Thank you for that lovely compliment, maybe. I know, I have no control. Let me go back. Shanglu, I am not trying to disrespect you. I want you to explain further because I don't want to misrepresent you. But I mean, it's everywhere. LA it's really bad. Los Angeles is like that too. The gap between the haves and the have, it's disgusting. Our democratic republic is failing, like failing. Do I have to read that about feces? Okay. San Francisco has so much, it's a humanitarian crisis. Yes, one of my best buddies lives in San Francisco. We have some serious issues in this nation, and they aren't being addressed because, in my humble, arrogant opinion, the wealthiest people do not care. They care about being rich, they care about being greedy, and they do not care about people. And that is a big problem because pretty soon there'll be a large number, not just black people, not just people, not all black people obviously, but not just people who are impoverished, not just indigenous people, and not just brown people, and not just African Americans. But most people will catch on at some point, and they will have nothing left to lose. So yeah, that. Good points. Shanglu, Warlord. Let me see. And, Amazon is leaving Seattle because of these people. Thank you, Anton. I'm a goof. Kitchen Politics. Thanks for not reading my... You're welcome. You know I love you. Good night, Kitchen Politics. I hope you are feeling better. And Anton, you made me laugh. Thank you. And Neil got in trouble. Let me see. And we should probably wrap this up because I think your dog is kind of hinting to us. Like,
yes, my director of security insists on going out right now.
Okay. Neil,
so I gave her a brief respite, and she wants to go for a real walk soon, so we'll have to.
Yeah, we can wrap this up, and we have a ton more to talk about, but another day. Neil, this has been a great show, and thank you for letting me participate. Oh my gosh, Neil, you're wonderful. Also, people, don't forget. I love you, Neil. Don't forget to subscribe to Angry Soccer Mom's YouTube channel and help her grow to a new level. Each get one person. Make my site grow. I am Kickback, and I am who I am, and I love learning from everybody. And I am thrilled to have Don here, who is very knowledgeable. And, Shanglu, I'm so sorry. My girlfriend was hit by a truck in her face on January 23rd. My dad died on the 8th of March. I'm going to lose my mom to the IRS. I never do meth. I never do drugs in public. Zero excuses for tweakers.
Thank you, Antoine. Same to you.
Yeah. I don't know what you meant by that. I think what you're trying to say is you've had a very, very hard life, and you don't take people who are homeless as an excuse to be homeless. I don't want to misrepresent you. I'm not sure what you're trying to say. I'm not. Maybe clarify that for me, or privately, because I have some pretty strong feelings about that, and I am so sorry for your losses and what's going on. You've got to be struggling terribly. I can't imagine. Have a good weekend. Thank you. Thanks, Anton, for being here. You are awesome. And Neil, thank you for all your... People are like, please be quiet. Leave. We're going to wrap it up. Shanglu, please get a hold of me. PM me. Or get a hold of me on Angry Soccer Mom. I'd love to talk to you. Sounds like you're going through a very, very tough time, and I am so sorry. I can't thank everyone enough for being here. Thank you, Don. Tell your doggy sorry. Please forgive.
Should be
And
good.
we have a ton more things to talk about, but hopefully I will see you guys next Wednesday. And I have a lot of cool things planned for us. And I will be announcing more things as we go on. So thank you, everybody. And do you have anything to say, Don? Anything more? Let me leave.
No, thank you very much. It's been a great forum and a great discussion, and I appreciate it all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for letting me share the links to my
Yes.
various business endeavors.
Like we said at the beginning, your links will be on there by tomorrow morning. And I appreciate you very much. You're
Absolutely.
welcome.
Same back to you. Same.
you.
Likewise.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank
Thank you so much for watching. And don't forget to PM me and say hi to me, and I will get back to you. Okay? And be safe. Things are getting crazy. Say that again.
Night, everyone.
Good night.